All right. Okay, so here we go with standard 6, 7, and 8. Standard 6 is the assessments. Standard 7 is planning for instruction. Standard 8 is instructional strategies. I'm here with my mentor, Mr. Garcia, and we're just going to debrief on how the lesson went, things that went well, and things that can be improved upon.
Okay.
All right.
So this lesson was taught 2 days ago.
Yep.
And I think we called it math stations. Tyler ran the whole thing. I was a helper. I ran a station. We had 4 stations.
4 stations.
We had 4 stations, approximately 6 kids per station. They're small groups, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The first assessment, the first standard I looked at was assessments for evaluating Tyler. And this was great because assessments, one of the positives of this lesson was timely feedback. We had, in addition to myself and Tyler, we also had a teacher's aide in here during that time, Miss Yoshi. So we had 3 people at 3 of the 4 stations that were able to give feedback on how the kids were doing, which ones needed more help, more time. So timely feedback was great. It gave students opportunities to build on their learning because each station was kind of set up so that they would work on one concept, which was like math facts, and then the next station they would do multiplication, double digits by single or triple by single digits. So that was really nice. Reteaching was also a positive of this lesson because reteaching became really evident because we quickly were able to see that one of the stations was a measuring table, perimeter and area of rectangles. And I worked that station and I was able to see very quickly that I need to teach it in a better way where they are clearer with how they write their formula.
I remember that.
And so I'm going to, and I'm sure you will too, if you teach the class again on perimeter area, be a little clearer on how to set that problem up.
Okay.
Identify students that needed extension activities. Basically, what I'm going to say with this area was that it was really great because it showed us that we needed more time. So we kind of, instead of doing the whole thing in 45 minutes, it probably took about an hour and 15 minutes with a recess in between.
Yeah.
But that was fine.
Cool.
And that's what we needed to be. We needed to be flexible, and that was great.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna, let's see, reteaching was another thing that I thought was, we talked about that.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
But it showed me that we needed to be a little bit more flexible with how much time we allowed for those stations.
Yeah, okay.
So, standard 7, planning for instruction. This was awesome.
Okay.
Tyler had 4 stations set up. Very realistic objectives. The only thing that we needed to change was just a little bit more time, just because by the time the kids get to the station and finally get on task, you lose about 4 or 5 minutes. But that was great. Very realistic.
And you were right. You wanted paper out there for that word problem group. And I think I called you off on that. I should have went with your thought because then they could have turned it into us and we could have looked it over.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Which I did with the last 2 groups. So
right, we did that. Yeah. Midstream, we made that change. And that was nice because then they had a final, something they did. They could hand it to us. Exactly. We could see. That's a quick way to assess too.
Yeah.
Let's see. New concepts in Standard 7 that Tyler introduced was great. He introduced a math grid, multiplication grid, and the kids have those on their desks, but they've never made one themselves.
Yeah,
and that was great.
Yeah, that was fun.
In fact, during free time later that day, I had kids that were making that for fun. So
really? Or finishing it? I saw somebody wanting to finish it.
Yeah. Clear lesson plan was also something that stood out in Standard 7. Super clear. The kids knew exactly what to do. That was great.
Perfect.
And then the other thing that was very interesting was feedback from the students.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, after Tyler left that day, at the end of the day, I had them write me an email telling me what they liked about that lesson and maybe what they didn't like. Almost all of the kids, without a doubt, said that was fun. They want to
Cool.
do that again. So we're going to do this lesson. The stations will change, but we're going to do this lesson every week, 1 day a week, because I liked it so much.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Awesome.
We've decided that I think it's going to be Mondays. We're going to do stations.
Cool.
Standard 6, instructional strategies. The things that stood out on this standard were the students were very motivated for learning. And I think that was getting up, moving around, collaborating with each other. That motivated them, kind of self-motivated them, or they got motivated by their peers.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. Adjusted instruction based on assessments. Yeah, back to the time.
Yeah.
We realized quickly that, hey, we need a little bit more time. We were able to do that on the fly. It cut into language arts a little bit, but that's okay. We can make that up later in the day.
Yeah.
And monitoring the groups was another thing that stood out to me because, monitored groups.
Monitored groups.
Yeah, monitored groups. What I noticed about monitoring the groups, because we had a teacher at 3 of the 4,
Yeah.
it was pretty easy to do that.
Right.
But also the peer motivation at the one group that didn't have a teacher, we would check on them and they were always on task because they had other
I noticed
kids.
that too.
Other kids were kind of motivating them.
Cool.
And the appropriate groups placed in.
Oh, yeah.
That was done beforehand because we already had math groups that we
Right.
had done other things in. So they were pretty much grouped based on level.
Yeah, and that's probably important for those group activities.
Yeah, so that's something that you do every year, and sometimes you make changes throughout the year, but
Yeah.
you always have math groups and reading groups kind of ready to go.
Awesome.
Great lesson though.
Cool.
Awesome. Best lesson you've done yet. by
Awesome.
far.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.